Tanner, welcome to this show, the Millionaire Insiders. I have done a little bit background check on you, try to know you from your videos, from your YouTube videos, from your shorts that you post on Facebook. Your story kind of is inspiring because I was just literally hearing it the other day on your YouTube. You are the first generation entrepreneur, right? You didn't have anyone to actually give you business advice or marketing advice or how to run a business. You were an athlete and then you became an entrepreneur, and now recently you also have stepped down from the CEO role and now playing the advisory role for elite CEOs, right, for your business. I would like to know, how did everything started?
Well, yeah, first off, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I appreciate it very much. I started in a family of 7 kids. So I had 2 older sisters, and then I had 2 brothers and 2 younger sisters. Kind of a strange kid growing up, I guess you could say, because I didn't have any older brothers. So my sisters would do, tea parties and dress up with me. And I guess my parents would just allow it. So as a younger kid around, I want to say 6th grade specifically, it happened all through middle school, but 6th grade, I was getting made fun of quite a bit. I was getting bullied a lot. And that was a pivotal moment for me because I remember going to my dad and I said, "Hey, Dad, I want to start working out so I can beat these kids up." So my parents actually started taking me to the gym before school. School would start around like 8 something, and they would take me around 5:30 in the morning, work out, and then they'd pick me up and they'd take me to school, and then I would go to first period, which was gym class. So I would work out like 3-4 hours in the morning, and then I go be ready to start the school day. And that really helped me because as soon as I started building muscle and improving my athletic performance, people started leaving me alone. And so that really resonated and reinforced with me that, hey, if I set a goal and I work hard and I achieve it, good things will happen. And so from about 12 till I was 22, my entire life revolved around sports because that was my first love. That's what I thought I was going to do. And I continued to play. I got to play all the way at the Division I football level. And then I got hurt a lot. I also don't think I was good enough. And then when I stopped playing football, I was going to school as an engineer. And I quickly realized that this wasn't what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I think I had just been going to school because I was playing sports. But once I ended, I really realized that I wanted to do something else. So I had lunch with a mentor. His name's David Fry. And to be honest, it was mostly financial gain at that point, because when football ended, I just wanted to do something where I could make a lot of money because I grew up in a conservative household. My dad was a teacher. There wasn't a lot to go around. And so I wanted to do something where I could make a lot of money. And that mentor just told me, hey, if you want to make a lot of money, you can do a lot more in a business than you could in a job. And so that's really the truth of why I started. There wasn't anything bigger than that at the time. It was just very selfish, honestly, just wanted to make money. And so I started down that path. And I didn't make any money the first 2 years. So I really struggled. He was teaching me about, funnels and opt-in pages and websites and just a lot of stuff that goes into building an online company. Right. But I wasn't making any money. And that first business I started was a fitness company. So it was, getting in shape, building muscle. I was getting pretty frustrated and I was considering going back to school when I saw an ad on Facebook just said, hey, click here. We'll help you build your online fitness company. So I clicked on that ad. I bought the program. It was $5,000. I had probably $2,000 to my name, very poor. And I had a $3,000 credit card. So I paid the rest on that. And then that first week I made 10 grand and I kept going. And then a year later, I'd done over $1 million. So it was pretty crazy. The first 2 years I made 2 grand. And then the next year I made $1 million. And then I did so well that I started getting some of these awards from ClickFunnels. So those are the ones you see on the walls behind me. And I had a lot of trainers start asking me for help. And they just said, hey, can you show me what you did? So I started helping trainers. And that was kind of my second company. That did really well. And then I had people outside the fitness industry start asking for help. They said, hey, we see what you've been doing with your companies. Can you show me what to do with mine? And so that's how Elite CEOs was born, I guess you could say. And a little over 4.5 years later, we did about 50 million in sales. Pretty crazy journey, but that's the gist of it.
That is pretty crazy though, how you started. And one of the things that you said, which actually stuck to me, the reason behind that you really wanted to do this was money. Still today, do you think that it's selfish to think?
At the time when you're broke, that's why most people start a company, because they want to get out of the situation they're in. They're tired of, not making anything and working crazy hours and not being rewarded for it. Now that I've made a lot of money, I still want to make money, but it's more about the personal growth than what I can buy with it. There's pretty much anything I want at this point I can get, besides, it'd be a bigger house, bigger car, bigger boat, bigger plane. It's all those types of things which I don't really care about. But it's more about the personal growth. So for me, what I enjoy is I enjoy pushing myself to grow a company, because to grow that company, you have to change as a person. You can't, become a multimillionaire or worth 100 million or even $1 billion without changing who you are and becoming a new person. And so that to me is what I enjoy now. And I also do enjoy the fact that I have been able to bless my family. Some of my family members work for me. I was able to pay off my parents' house. So that also comes into play. But just growing up with not a lot, that was my initial reason to start a company, because my dad was a teacher and we had a bunch of kids, and I saw my parents budgeting all the time and having arguments about money. And I just knew as an adult, I didn't want to have to live that way.
I was asking you because I know that for so many of us, we take money as an evil. That's when people struggle, because the relationship between you and money is not starting from a good point. And that's when it happens. People don't make so much money because they continuously tell their mind very selfish. And I believe in manifestation, right? I believe that, hey, if you want to make more money, then the first thing that you have to tell your mind that, hey, you can do it. You can make more money. First of all, it's not even real, right? It's like paper. So money is not really a real thing unless and until someone else is giving a value to it, and then that becomes real.
People will say money doesn't make you happy, but I don't think that's completely true. I think outside of your loved ones being okay, and then being able to go after your goals, money is probably the third most important thing in life. And the reason I say that is money is what allows you to do all the things you want to do. So if you want to go to Bora Bora or Aruba, or you want to buy a house or a car or whatever, all those are predicated on money. They have nothing to do with if you want it or not. The reason people don't get those things is because they can't afford it. So from personal experience, I can tell you that things, cars, houses, those types of things don't mean a lot to me. Like, I don't get a lot of enjoyment out of it except for the first 6 months. But what I have enjoyed is being able to travel whenever I want, or do certain activities or have experiences with my family or loved ones that I wouldn't be able to unless I was making a substantial amount of money. And that's what I think people don't talk about. So when people say money doesn't make you happy, that's true up to a certain point. But I do think money is probably the third most important thing on the list, outside of your loved ones, and then obviously like your mission in life, what you're accomplishing. So yeah, I don't think it's bad at all, and I don't think people should say it's evil. The reality is that it's just part of how the world works. You have to have money to pay for things, and that's usually the barrier of entry to whatever you want to get into. The more money you have, the more things you can do, the more people you can help, the more you can accomplish. So I just think learning the game of money is super important. And it starts off being selfish. I don't really know if I've met an entrepreneur, if they're really being honest, that says they started a business, to help other people. I'm sure they're out there, but I think innately, like deep down, they started it because they want to make money, right? That's the first motive. And then as you make money and you have more abundance, it's easier to start focusing on other things because you're not broke.
Yeah, now you're not broke, you have money.
Yeah, so for me, my goal is to make $10,000 a month. Like, I never thought I'd be making what I would make now, but I thought in my head, man, if I could get to $10,000 a month, that would just completely change my life. And then as money continues to come in, you go, okay, I don't really need this, or I'm not going to use it. So what else can I do? Or what else is out there? What's more important? But I think being selfish in the beginning, you kind of almost have to, because you won't push through. The first 2 years I was in business, if I hadn't been selfish and I hadn't had the goal to be successful, I think most people would have quit. The reason I kept going is I just didn't see another path. I just said, I have to do this until I learn how to make money, and I'm going to keep going like forever until it works. I just was willing to be homeless, I guess you could say, versus fail. So I do think that's important for beginning entrepreneurs to have that drive.
For sure. I mean, it's either the money or it's the freedom that you normally, I mean, that ultimately everything comes to money. You made $2,000 in the first year, and then that became 1 million, then that became 10 million, and that became $50 million in revenue, more than 10x. What has actually helped you to achieve that level of success?
So I think at a personal level, what helped me was having massive insecurity that I wasn't good enough or I was going to be a failure, but also having the confidence that I could do it. I think you're going to see that in a lot of successful people where they're so fear driven from not being good enough that they will push themselves to the limit to get there. So that's my personal characteristic. From an actual business standpoint of things I did, to go from about 0 to 50K a month, I just was messaging people as much as I could on my social media. So I would spend, I don't know how many hours a day, but I would say half or more of the day just messaging people and setting up phone calls. So that was from Instagram, my Facebook groups, Instagram hashtags, anywhere where I could find someone who I thought would buy my fitness programs, because that's the first company I started. So I started there. Once I got to 50K, I realized that I need to learn paid ads, because unless you have a big social media following, really big, like Kim Kardashian or Kanye West, Elon Musk, whatever, you have to pay for eyeballs. And so I spent the next 6 months paying different coaches and trying different programs to try to figure it out. I didn't have a lot of success, and I was losing a lot of money until I started running my ads to Messenger. So for anyone watching, ManyChat came out, I want to say 2017, 2018.
Right.
And that's a feature that when you run an ad, it opens up a Messenger inbox. Don't use it as much now. Facebook has a native feature now, but that's what I used back then. And the reason that helped me scale, that actually is what got me to 10 million plus a year. Because once I had that, what I would do is people would click on my ads and come into Messenger. And then I would just go in there and lead generate them and get them to book a call if they hadn't already. And so I would say 70 to 80% of my sales calls came from actually going in Messenger and having a one-on-one conversation with these people. And because it's time consuming and takes a lot of skill, it set me apart from the competition. And that's what we do to this day. And it just really helps us drive a lot of sales, because when you're willing to do what others are not, or you're willing to do something that some people consider unscalable, you're automatically going to set yourself apart from the competition. So that really is the main thing. There's probably a bunch of other things I can go into if you'd like, but I think that strategy in itself is what set my entire company apart and what's helped us scale so efficiently.
You mentioned you didn't know how to run ads. You learned all that online, or someone was there to help you out on that?
I just really learned everything by trial and error. Something that I think people forget is a lot of times if they don't understand something, they think that, I mean, yes, you can pay someone to teach it to you, but for example, if you were to go pay an ad agency, maybe their retainer fee is $5,000 a month, and then you have $5,000 for ads. Well, if you think about it this way, what if you just spent the $10,000 yourself, even if you had no idea what you were doing? Probably what will happen is, even though you got lesser results, you're able to put more of the money towards the ads versus the agency, right? So you're probably going to get the same results or better. And then two, you're going to learn what to do. So my mentor, who I met in the beginning, he taught me a lot of stuff. And then anything I didn't learn from him, I just learned through trial and error and, going through different courses and programs. But it was really just me like taking action on everything I was learning, or I'd Google it, or I would just ask someone a question. And by taking massive action is how I learned a lot of things. Most people get really stuck into reading. They read and read and read, and they take course after course. But at some point, the best teacher is just actually taking action and learning from experience.
One thing that you said, which is very important for anyone who is actually watching or listening to this, first, you should know the steps, someone else, or pay money to someone else to do that job. You didn't know how to run ads. You didn't know how to do marketing or any of that. You learned it first, and now you applied those techniques and strategies into your business. And then when you saw some results were coming, and then maybe after that, you hired team members to multiply your skill so that you can do more, or so that you can make more money. When we started, me and my business partner, my husband, we both are software engineers. So when we started, we knew these things. We already knew the software development process, which has actually helped us to scale the company, because when we hired people, we knew the process. Often people do this mistake in their online journey. They start and they think, oh, I don't know this, and let me just hire people to do that job for me, which is awesome.
Right.
If you have at least some experience or some knowledge about that job and how that job can be done. Because if you don't have any fucking clue, then it's gonna be like a rip-off. So you should first at least learn, maybe not the whole skill, but at least have some idea how to get that job done.
Right. And no, I mean, you're 100% correct. And like you said, you're a software engineer. So if I was ever to build software again, because I had one go at it, I would hire a chief technical officer first, who either had equity or a really high salary. So I know that, hey, these guys are doing what they're supposed to do. Because one of the issues I had when I started making software is they would tell me stuff and it sounded good, but I didn't really know, what was going on. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that sounds good, but I really have no clue. And so it goes back to the same thing you said. If you hire people to do something you don't understand, you have to have some level of understanding in the beginning of a company. Now, when you get to bigger levels, you may not understand every piece, but you have to have someone who understands, because if not, when stuff goes south or it's not working, like you said, you don't know. And so you hire people and keep them on longer than you should, because they're telling you, oh, this will work, give it more time. But in reality, it's never going to work and you need to move on. So I 100% agree with what you just said. It's spot on.
How does your day-to-day look like right now at this point of time?
Yeah, so I just stepped out as acting CEO a few weeks ago. So right now I get up around 5 or 5:30. I'll work. What really changed my life was being able to make money. I was really able to bless people. I've been able to hire my family. I've been able to build a team of about 100 people. So building a business, and especially a larger one, really can bless a lot of people's lives. It's also helped, we've helped to this day. I think we have about 20,000 plus clients we've had, 4,000-ish with which are high ticket.
Right.
So, I think the goal for me was when I saw that I was able to figure stuff out and get financial freedom. That to me is one of the best ways you can benefit people's lives, because whether they have medical issues or financial issues, or they're struggling with their confidence, whatever it may be, I feel that teaching someone how to make money consistently is one of the best ways to help them with whatever problems they have, because they can utilize that money in whatever fashion they want. Versus, even when I helped someone in fitness, it was great.
Right.
And I was able to help people with their health and their confidence, but at the end of the day, I still feel financially helping someone helps even more, because they're able to take that money and use it for whatever they want. So our mission is really just to help empower as many people to start and scale their businesses and kind of take their financial destiny in their own hands. And that's why I've been doing it so long, and why we continue to do it. So it's just constantly trying to refine our systems and program and make them as good as possible.
That's a great vision that you have. You're trying to help more people. That's awesome. You said in the beginning, people say that, hey, I'm starting my business because I want to help more people. But that's one of the reasons that you really start your business is because you want to make more money. But then that when you are making more money, that actually enables you to help more people in the future, right? And that's why right now you are in that position where you can help more people to also achieve the success that you have, and that's what you are trying to do right now.
You can't help anyone before you help yourself. So I think that's just a natural progression. You have to be able to help yourself before you can help others, and it's just Maslow's hierarchy. It's really hard to help others when you're constantly worried about your bills and your rent and if you're going to get evicted. So, once you have those things in order, it allows you to kind of look into your higher purpose and think bigger.
So to wrap it up, because we don't have so much time left, let's say that if there was a blueprint for success, over $1 million in any business, for someone who is starting their business, what would be some of those checklists from your perspective?
Very quickly, the first thing I do is I try to choose something that I can sell for $1,500 or more in the health, wealth, or relationship niche. So those are the big three. Everyone wants better relationships, or they want to make more money, or they want to be in better shape. So start there. Once you have that down, don't create your program, go start to try to sell it. So go out, start messaging people, have conversations, try to actually get money. Once you have money, Then you can say, hey, super excited to start with you. Give me 3 to 4 days to get it ready. And then you can start creating your program, right? Because if you already know what you're doing, you don't need to go create it before you make a sale. There's no reason to. Spend your time trying to make sales. Once you get that client, just rinse and repeat that process until you know you have that process down. And then from there, you start running either paid ads with Facebook or YouTube. You can do Instagram shout outs. And then you start building your team. That's really the easiest way to do it. And anyone who's listening, they can build, you can make $100,000 a year with 1 or 2 team members and just selling, 4 programs a month at, 2 or 3 grand. It's not that unreasonable to think. You just have to be able to sell it at a high enough price point, and then you have to be willing to put in some work. And if someone who's listening is going, well, if I'm messaging people, how many messages should I have to do, or how many conversations? What I would say is a baseline is for every 100 messages you send out or people send to you, you're going to get about 30 that should respond. That's the low end. Out of those 30 that respond, you're trying to book about 5 or 6 calls and then try to close 1 or 2. And if you can do that, if you do 20 an hour for 5 hours a day, that's 100 messages. You should be able to make a couple sales each and every week, even if you're not running paid ads. So from there, it's just, if you know those numbers, it's just learning the skill set to be able to do it. So that's kind of the long story short, or like the fast track, I would say, with the little time we have here.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you said just now that, hey, once you get a client or once you get a sale, then you multiply that and then implement more and more things into your program. But before you actually get to that point, you should just do things and just take action, whatever idea you want to implement, just implement and take action, and then see what's working, what's not, and then what is working, just multiply on that. Once you get some client, you just repeat that process. Most of the entrepreneurs, they spend so much time on learning and buying all these courses, learning from it, and then they forget to implement, which is the most important step if you want to be successful on your entrepreneurial journey, because you have to learn and then you also have to implement and then see what's working and what's not.
Exactly, yeah, and at some point, you have to start implementing, and it's like reading about swimming and then swimming. At some point, you got to jump in the actual pool and start moving your arms, and that's going to be the greatest teacher versus just reading the book.
For sure, that's a good example. We have come to the end of this show. It was really great, and I was so grateful of having you today. I enjoyed the whole conversation and the whole talk. I hope you also did, and I hope that our viewers and our listeners as well. I hope you enjoyed.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, and hopefully it helps someone, but I really appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tanner. See you later and talk to you later. Bye.